This is actually going to end up, not my personal stuff, but what I'm going to tell you here is actually going to end up coming in to play in my little stuff here sooner or later. But, the Army trains as they fight, So they try to simulate as real of scenarios as they can so that when it comes down to actually doing it, they're not lost in the woods. They know what is about to happen. They know what they need to do. And they know what the steps are to take care of what they got to take care of. So while, in August, late July, August time frame, you're in full-blown what they call MOPP gear, MOPP. And it's basically protective gear that's about a half-inch thick, is charcoal layered, and it raises your the temperature of your surroundings up by about 20 degrees. So when you're in Death Valley in the middle of August and it's 120 outside, inside of your suit and your gas mask, it's 140, 150 degrees, and you're having to drink water through a little high sea straw pretty much to try to stay hydrated. This is what we deal with, and this is what they do. So we did that training to simulate the desert, and when we went back to Fort Hood, I did, probably did, that's fine. I was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas for a while. We did, what do you call it? It's pretty much, they want to certify their stuff to make sure that it works. It's reassurance, I guess, training, so they run,
that sounds really bad. Walk through these melting cores real quick for us, will you? We need to make sure your suits work okay.
Right. Don't get me wrong, it's not that bad, but, they do, they'll do their training so-and-so time, and they'll be like, okay, well, you've got this coffee can-sized container of CS capsules that you need to burn off, and we've only got 300 troops to push through. You're only supposed to burn one every 20 minutes or so, maybe 30 minutes. How about you just put about 5 or 6 every 5 minutes? And so it's, the actual concentration level is actually hyped up a lot, when we would go through there and do that stuff. We'd make them take off their mask and it'd be like, yep, see, it's working, because immediately their senses, they're choked up by the CS gas, and everything like that. But, it's just a little quote-unquote war stories. I guess not really necessarily war stories, but, but yeah, that was pretty much my extent of my my military. I went to Korea for a little while. That was a blast, but
yeah, I hear it's amazing out there. The culture, people, technology, as far as just about everything out there here is great.
Absolutely. I fell in love with people and the culture. There's nothing like walking through a modernized city and you see the road split, go around a 3,000-year-old city gate, that's been there since, before Christ pretty much, and it's just like, wow, that's pretty wild to see TGI Fridays and look down the street and see a city gate, because they do have that. They're Fridays over there. They like their American food. So,
sure.
Just like we go eat Chinese, they go eat American.
Yeah, right? Right. Yeah, and I find that it's great because if you've had an opportunity to travel the world and you've been to different places on the globe that many people may never go that are in America, you've seen some different cultures and the way people live and had some neat experiences. And when we had talked previously before the show, you had said that basically over the years you have compiled a whole bunch of information because of something that you found on YouTube. And I was wondering if you could walk us through that a little bit and kind of tell us what sparked your interest into where you're currently at outside of your typical day job.
Being on the boat, you get pretty bored, fairly easily. You try to find as many things as you can to pass your time. One of those things for me happens to be YouTube. Just your random stuff. uh, funny videos, this and that. And so out of the blue one day, I was looking up my little suggested list of funny videos, and up pops this video is suggested for you. So I said, what is this? And it started talking about the Illuminati. And it really piqued my interest, because I've heard one or two little things here and there. Nothing crazy. I've seen a couple of TV shows, but it really got into programming, how they're using Hollywood characters for this or that, and it really piqued my interest. And it took me on a journey that, in all honesty, I never thought I'd be at. But you get to looking at these videos, you would see, well, why are they doing this? Or they're doing it because of this one specific thing. Well, why are they programming? Why are they having these Hollywood people just programmed, and why are they, doing this to them or doing that to them? It really, very interesting, and it really did just pique me. But I never could figure out what was the reason why. Because that was everybody's thing, So why is so and so doing so and so? Well, why is so and so doing so and so? And it went through this for a long time, and I thought I actually might have had the answer together, but I guess it's been a few months now. I found another little piece of interest to me that once I found it, everything that I've been looking at has literally just stacked like Lincoln logs. It's this fun little house right now, and out of all these little pieces, the little Lego set, there's your fun rocket that you get to build, and it's really scary, as a matter of fact, to think about it. Go ahead.
So you've basically put together what you think is the missing links to connect to the overall conspiracy of conspiracies.
Yes, I believe.
Fasten your seatbelts, folks.
It's a little arrogant to say the greatest cover-up of modern history, but I wouldn't put it past, and it has to do, and I guess I can go ahead and start into this. It has to do with everything from Nibiru to Agenda 21. The United States Navy making a map of the future United States after some disaster. Underground bunkers, FBI, CIA moving. Department of Homeland Security purchasing rounds. I'll start off, I kind of wrote down a little timeline here, and I'll start off with Nibiru. One of the videos that I watched was a man. He was telling how when he was a child, he saw an article in Popular Science back in the 50s about this massive planet that's going to come through, and in 50 years, and it was going to create these tidal waves and all sorts of just destruction, fire, end of the world type stuff. And he says he went there and he showed his family. He's like, look, this is going to happen. He went, well, that's in 50 years. And they said, don't worry about that. But that was in the 50s. That 50 years is coming around. As a matter of fact, they were more or less looking at like 2003. That's where your 2003 timeline comes in for Nibiru. And that's part of the issue with all of these theories is people keep putting dates on this stuff and they don't come through, and then it's the boy that cried wolf. I know that you've heard this 100 times, and and it just makes it less and less believable every time. So they let's see here. You got 2003. Then it didn't happen in 2003, so they put 2012, put it with the Mayan calendar, this and that. 2015, now it's 2016, possibly 2017. We don't know. There's a lot of stuff that, as far as biblical prophecies and stuff go, because I am a believer, I believe that the Bible's a good source for the stuff that's happening. This article, the 1953 Planet X, magazine article, and I couldn't find anything, absolutely nothing. The only thing that it would pop up would be that Planet X was back in the early 1900s, where they were finding Planet X, but it, later on turned out to be Pluto, so I can't find that at all. So I don't know if it just happened to be removed for popular viewing or what, but, like I said, I'm horrible at researching. I mean, and I promise you, if I can find this, anybody can. But, so, I guess for anybody not aware of what Nibiru is, I mean, talking about this, the planet or star system that supposedly swings through, and is supposed to, grab our, have the pole shift and grab our North Pole and push it down and then come back around and grab the South Pole and flip it back over up to it's supposed to pretty much flip the Earth. But it wasn't mentioned again until the 70s. Late 70s, early 80s, somewhere around there. And it was openly discussed for a few years, and then all of a sudden they have a hush order put on it. And whether it was from Reagan or somebody in Reagan's administration, you're not supposed to talk about it. Well, then you've got the scientists that felt like this needed to be known, and they end up dying mysteriously from sudden onset of an ultra rare throat cancer or something. Just cover up type stuff. So finally, I guess some of these people did finally just shut up, and that's when they started all the disinformation on it, So that right there is going to be the basis of a lot of this. It's because of Nibiru, or Planet X, Wormwood, the Red Dragon, whatever you want to call it. It's known by all of these names. So we fast forward a couple of years, and we get around to Bush, and they're at their little summit meeting, where there was a G whatever number summit meeting, and they proposed Agenda 21, and it's to supposedly keep the survivability of the planet, the environmental sustainability and stuff like that, and they didn't want the world population. And it's always fun when you're trying to sleep and that thing goes off wide open.
Oh man.
But
yeah.
Okay. All right. I apologize.
That's all right. No worries.
All right. So we've got Agenda 21. They're down in Brazil or wherever they're at the G8 meeting or G4 or G6, something. And they're talking about the survivability of the planet. They're talking about the world population, shouldn't be any higher than 500 million, They're talking about moving people to strict locations, and then having no zones where there's no contact whatsoever see here. And they want to know how do we make this happen, you know? And, you know, how do we implement this? Well, with the government, you have to realize that everything has an underlying meaning, you know, no matter what. So while they're telling you that it's for environmental sustainability, it's actually for economic sustainability and for human sustainability, just for straight up life, because they know what's coming. The same guy who was talking about when he was seeing this thing on the Popular Science magazine, you know, when he was a kid back in the 50s, the same guy that says he was watching this thing on through the telescope and says it looks like it was right across the street. They know it's coming, you know. And once again, if you believe in the Bible, some scientists are calling this wormwood, and this is the you know, whether it's an asteroid from it or whatever, the mountain that falls from heaven, this is what we're looking at. So they pretty much want to know, how do we save ourselves and how do we get this accomplished? And, well, they figure, let's go underground. So what do they start doing? They go into their old World War II bunkers that they had. They start creating new bunkers and start refabbing the old ones, setting it up however it needs to be. They start digging these tunnels, you know, it's all over the place, you know, and it's hard for me to comprehend digging these tunnels throughout the United States that, you know, where they say the truckers have testified about, they've gone in them in one state and drove for forever, come out of them in another state, they don't even know where they're at, you know. But like when I was in Korea, they discovered, while I was in Korea, they discovered while I was in Korea 3 tunnels leading from North Korea to South Korea that was big enough to move 3 divisions in 45 minutes. That's a division every 15 minutes. Now, for those people that don't know what a division is, your smallest of the small in the military is a squad. Well, your platoon consists of 4 to 5 squads. Your company consists of 4 to 6 platoons. Your battalion consists of anywhere from 3 to 6 companies. Your brigade consists of anywhere from 3 to 6 battalions. And your division consists of about 3 brigades, 3 brigades. So that's a lot of people to move through a tunnel in 45 minutes. And you're talking about 3 divisions. This is in North Korea, coming to South Korea. So I firmly believe that if North Korea can dig a tunnel that big, that we can dig a tunnel that big if we need it to. So I'm going to fast forward here to modern times. You've got the FBI, as from what I've heard, has pretty much moved from Langley, Virginia, to Denver. The CIA has moved to Denver into an underground bunker that's been photographed and videoed underneath the Denver airport, from what I've been told. So, you know, I mean, going underground is pretty much their go-to. We're said to have about 130-ish underground bunkers. Russia is actually said to have over 20,000 underground bunkers. You've got, at the same time, I guess, that they are building these bunkers and doing what they need to do to them, you've got the United States Navy has either contracted their own personnel or private sector contractors, or even the United States Army Corps of Engineers to help fabricate this map of the United States that's supposed to be what it is after this massive event that's supposed to happen to us. And it shows flooded areas, places that, like Florida, there's not much left of Florida. There's not much left of Alabama. Mississippi, the whole Mississippi River is pretty much split wide open to the middle of the United States. I mean, you got pretty much the Ohio area up there is becoming an island, pretty much. Let's see here. And to top this map off, so to speak, as far as what the Navy has constructed. I'm sure you've heard of Edward Casey, the Sleeping Prophet.
Oh yeah.
He had a map made. He was reluctant about making a map, from what I hear. But he did. He ended up making this map, and the similarities in this Sleeping Prophet map and United States Navy map is just uncanny. I mean, it's not exact. You can't lay them over each other and be a trace out, but the similarities are. It'll make you think. So to get this map, they get it done. They start briefing their upper level retirees. They say, "Hey, if you guys feel like retiring, we suggest to you the Arkansas, Missouri, Ozarks. Probably the best place for you." And somebody's looking at them like, "Well, why?" And they're like, "Well, we got something to show you, and it's this." And they show them this map, and it's like, "This is classified. You're not allowed to talk about it." Well, of course, people are going to talk about it, and you can find that information pretty easy these days. But this is where they're telling the military to go. Go to the center of the country, out there in the plains. It's got a good bedrock foundation out there. Not a lot of sand, not a lot of mountains. Pretty much away from all the coastlines, and any influx you're going to have of people trying to escape whatever's coming, they're pretty much not going to be able to make it to you by the time they get there. So this is all the reason that they say go to the Arkansas, Missouri, Ozarks, is because just of difficulty to get there and distance and all that fun stuff. So we get back to what we were talking about earlier with the underground bunkers and stuff like that. And I was watching videos. Actually, I can't remember where I saw this video. Actually, I believe it was YouTube, but it was a video of a man and his wife just driving down the interstate, and he was so compelled because of what had already passed him that he pulled out his phone and started videoing, and he literally videoed traveling the opposite direction of them for about 5 minutes. Was just a police escorted 18-wheeler convoy, and it was CVS, Walmart, Coke. It's just miles and miles of 18-wheelers, just front to back, locked in. Don't even expect to have. That's all it was. The police literally had the thing. There were no cars coming from the other side. It was just the police. And if there was a car or two in there, I guess it was just because they happened to get on the exit or get on the interstate from an on-ramp and was stuck in the middle of it. But, it was forever. And that was halfway through it. So I mean, they're stocking up supplies as far as food and water goes. Supposedly in these underground bunkers that they're building, getting ready for whatever's going to happen. Supposedly, Nibiru. I'm just. This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm seeing. This is the research I found. So they get back to the Agenda 21. They're saying, well, we can't save everybody. So what do we do? Like, well, we're going to enact martial law. We have to enact martial law. If you didn't enact martial law before this thing hit, you're literally speaking of utter chaos in the streets. I mean, food and water is going to be gone almost instantly. And you're going to have starving people out there that will pretty much do whatever it takes to eat, So the only thing they can do is lock it down. Well, so they're worried about dissidents, people fighting back, thinking that, hey, you're not going to tell me that I'm going to go to some camp, blah, 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 blah. So what do they say? They say, you know what, let's train for this situation. We train as we fight. Thus bringing in the Jade Helm situation where everybody last year was like, what the heck are they doing? Why are they doing this? Well, they're practicing for full-blown mass arrests. And this is literally, the mass arrests, getting people rounded up with as little problems as possible. And it's not just our military. It's foreign soldiers. I remember walking around on my base and seeing Russian soldiers, and this was 15 years ago, and I'm thinking, why are they here?
What base was that at?
That was in Texas, Fort Hood.
And they were Stuxnet, or Stuxnet, or not Stuxnet, Stuxnet or something like that, what are they called?
Yeah, whatever the Russian troops are.
Yeah, I'm totally having a brain fart here, man.
Yeah, me too. If you wouldn't have asked me, I probably could have told you. But yeah, there's squads of them, and I asked them, I was like, "What are they here?" It's like, "What do you mean? They live here." I said, "Why are they walking around in Russian army fatigues around Fort Hood, Texas? For what?" They're just like, oh, they live way up on the other side of Fort Hood up there, and they just stay by themselves, and don't nobody really mess with them too much, and this and that. And I'm just like, wait, what? They're just off in some little random part of Fort Hood is massive, by the way. It's the largest military installation in the free world. And, you can look at a map and see a little grayed out area that's about the size of 2 or 3 counties. And that's Fort Hood. It pretty much runs from Waco to Belton, and then runs from an hour and some change doing 70 miles an hour down the highway west. The thing's massive. But yeah, they just stay up there on the other side of Fort Hood, they said, and they come down here every now and then, and they'll go shopping at the PX or something and get groceries or snacks or whatever they want. I'm just like, that's insane. Why? We don't have, to my knowledge, anybody just living over in Russia at their bases, but we never know. I don't know. Maybe they do, and I just don't know about it.
Spetsnaz.
That's it. But yeah, these are the guys that they're training with. They're training with the Russians. They're training with the Koreans. They're training with all of them. Everybody, all their little allies. They're over here, multinational training exercise, Jade Helm, and they're practicing martial law. They're practicing. I had a brain fart myself. Mass.
Civil unrest, mass arrest.
Processing. Mass processing. That's what they're mass arrests and mass processing into these camps that they've got. And that's another thing that you can look up too is the FEMA, or not the FEMA, the Agenda 21 map. It's an actual colored map, and it has orange and red and black and all this stuff, and the different colors mean different things. And the black is supposedly where they're going to keep all people at. I mean, if you live on the Panhandle of Florida, you're just screwed. There's nowhere to go except Eglin Air Force Base, and that's it. Because there ain't anything south of I-10. There's only pretty much one major road, and that's Highway 98. And that runs east and west. So pretty much from Panama City to Pensacola, I mean, if you're there, then you might as well just, okay, yeah, I'll go over here. Or just fight them and die. I mean, you know, I don't know. Maybe you might spark a revolution one day. You never know. But, and I'm not advising anybody to go out there and go shoot up a squad of soldiers, okay? I'm not saying that. But they said that Jade Helm 15 went so good that they're actually doing it again. And it's called UREC or UREX, something like that, or UREC 16. And they're doing it in Texas. And it's the same thing. They're doing it over. And that'll be coming up soon. I actually heard about that this morning.
It's UWEX.
UX, yeah. So they're supposed to be, it's pretty much the same thing as Jade Helm, but they're just going to be, I don't think it's a large scale. I think it's just going to be in Texas somewhere. Or Bastrop County, but there's no.
Oh, you know what? Oh my goodness. I'm looking right now, you guys, and what you just brought up, I think this needs to be shown. November 12th, 2015, there was an article that came out on the Cron.com, Houston, Texas article, Helm 2, Jade Helm 2, UWEX 16, covert military operations in Texas looking for civilian actors. Oh, what a coincidence. So be prepared. Now, I'm looking at the actual white paper right now, folks, and I will overlay this when we present this podcast because this is showing the overview. The date it was posted was the 2nd of November last year, and yeah. Here we go. Here's the dates. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, January 11th through 22nd, 2016. So it looks like that's already taken place. Camp Bullis, that's the 21st to the 27th of March. That's already taken place. Looks like it happened in San Antonio, the 28th through May 10th. Oh, okay. So this is actually going on right now, and nobody's really talking about it. That's interesting.
That's the one that I was particularly talking about right there, because that's the one that I heard was coming up. Now, don't get me wrong, I haven't heard anything or seen anything about the ones that have already happened this year, but that one I have, and I definitely wanted to try to bring that up. So, all right, so they are in the midst of doing this, and you pretty much have this whole training operation going for them practicing martial law. And at the same time, I'm sure you remember, I don't know how much you probably talked about it in the past, but it was all over the news for a little bit. But the Department of Homeland Security purchased 1.6 billion rounds of ammo. This is not for military use. This is hollow point ammo, purposely designed for an M16, and 45 pistols, because that's the government issued pistol, the 45 caliber pistol. This is to be distributed between different government departments, such as the IRS, the Post Office, the Department of Homeland Security, I want to say the ATF, and this, I'm sure that the CIA and the FBI already have their own ammo supply, but for all I know, Department of Homeland Security encompasses them under their umbrella because they encompass almost everything now. And this is what they purchased. They've also purchased or ordered a massive amount of actual military-grade M16s. They're not the AR-15s, not the semi-automatics, but they actually have the three-burst option on them. And they have the saws, which are fully automatic 223 caliber machine gun. You know, if that's an option for them, you know, so they've purchased all this stuff. It also encompasses the sheriff's department. You know, any of these militarized departments that you're seeing that have, let's just say, they've got an armored vehicle that they want to put on their SWAT team and do SWAT raids with it, this and that. The sheriff actually had to sign a document saying, hey, we'll give you this armored vehicle, but if we ever need you for anything, you got to promise to come help us out, okay? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they sign their little department away, not realizing, or maybe realizing, that they've pretty much just signed themselves over to be, you know, contract to hire pretty much for the government, saying, hey, we got you on contract right here. They'll tap their little clipboard with their paper on it. That's your signature, right? Okay, well, go do what we said. Otherwise, you'll go to the camps, you know? So they got them. I actually don't know how to put that without being semi-vulgar, but they got them by the cojones, you know what I mean? And this is all, you know, if you do a little bit of video research, this is all quote-unquote common knowledge or easily accessible stuff that you can find, you know, but it's like I said, everybody's been doing these videos and it's like, well, why are they militarizing the police? Well, it's because of, you know, they just got to be well suited for today's threat, you know. Well, okay, sure. And it's not that. It's the military, or excuse me, the government, when they need them, they're going to need them to be trained on their equipment, ready to work, you know, and do whatever they need them to do. So, on top of the DHS purchasing the weapons and the 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition, DHS has also purchased mass orders of 5-person coffins. And they've also purchased guillotines. And that, I don't know how common, I guess that is of information. Like I said, I mean, you're talking hundreds of hours of video that I've gone through, and I heard that a couple times, that they've got these guillotines ready, and these coffins, and train cars that were converted from like car haulers to prison cars that are now like tri-level prison cars with shackles all in them, just in case you don't want to act right when they put you in, or if they do act right, they're going to put you in this train car, shackle you down, and then train you over to where they want you to be, and you're just going to be stuck in a train car for however long it takes to get there, shackled to the floor. Let's see here. And to get this going, you know, you look at today's world, and this is my own little spin on this. I haven't actually heard too many videos, but I think they're trying everything that they possibly can to enact martial law. You look at the racial tension today is just 10 times worse than it was just 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. You know, it's just so bad now. Police brutality. You know, you've got all the riots and stuff going on in Ferguson and Baltimore and stuff like this, and I think they're actually trying to stir up enough people, or to get people stirred up enough to get out there and actually do something, because it's actually been found that a lot of the protesters in Ferguson weren't even from there. They were bussed in, paid to go in there and just tear up stuff. And just do what they did, pretty much just destroy that city. That was something else I learned recently. I didn't realize that. I guess ignorance is bliss. They're paying people to go to these, and I'm no Donald Trump supporter, and actually my guy is not even in the race anymore, so I don't even know who I'm supporting right now, but it has been noted that, these guys are paying people to go to these Trump rallies and try to start fights, and just, they're trying to get people just to start just mass riots so that they can throw down their little poker chip or their little ace in the hole and pow, guess what? Martial law, guys. We can go put you where we wanted to and we didn't have to do anything, But when all that fails, I've actually there was a reporter that did a segment on the banking situation and the economic collapse that is imminent. And she says that from her source that she got was supposedly a really reliable source. I have no clue who it is, but she says, hey, they're going to tell you guys that there's a virus in the entire banking system, and what they have to do is they have to shut down for 72 hours. And she says, look for it on a Friday because they like to do stuff on a Friday. This administration does. And so, you know what? We're going to shut down for the weekend. Don't worry about it. We got it covered. We're going to fix it. And Monday morning, everything's going to be all right. Well, that 72 hours is, what she says, is your notice to get out of town. Get away, bug out, do what you got to do, but leave, because as they said after that, that's going to be their final straw in the martial law. That's when they're going to put it in. Is if there's if they ever say, hey, there's a bug or something, or something like that, we gotta fix it. We gotta shut down the banks for a couple days. Then that's your red flag to go take care of your stuff. But they tried everything. Alt flag events, Sandy Hook, and I know that's a touchy subject for a lot of people because there's a lot of people that believe that was real. But they actually I came across footage of one of the mom and dads that they were interviewing, and it was somebody with a cell phone back there catching them, and they were laughing and hee-hawing and cutting up. And the guy looks down, cameraman says, okay, guys, we're going live in about 5, and he starts counting down, and you can see them both just immediately change their demeanor and start, breathing hard, and then they got their sad face on, and all of a sudden, and it's the tears, and we just really miss our girl. And it's like, man, that's low. That's really, really low. Especially, in my opinion, for the government. To try to use, even children like that. You're going back to World War II times, and the famous Nazi dictator there using the children to get his little message across, this and that. But this is the stuff that they're trying to do. They're trying to make it so taboo to own a weapon. We have open carry states, and you can't even walk around with a pistol on your hip in a holster, because people are going to freak out and think that you are there to just burn the city down. It's being so taboo now just to own a weapon that this is what they're going for. They're trying to promote their voluntary disarmament of the citizens, so there's not a big fight when this happens. And this is all where they're just trying to get everything ready for when all the stuff is supposed to kick off.
So you think basically Agenda 21, September 11th. The majority of these big events that have taken place are all being orchestrated to disarm the masses so that when people can see plain as day Planet X or Nibiru and the effects are so catastrophic and global that they can't hide it anymore, it's going to be a lot easier for them to control the population, so therefore they can have enough resources for themselves. And I'm referring to they, I'm speaking of the elitists that have the golden tickets into these supposed bunkers that have been built. And the supposed scenario that we're discussing here essentially is coming down to everything breaks to this point. Is that what I'm gathering with you, Jeff?
Do you have a copy of my notes over there? That's pretty crazy. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You know, and they're, you know, I mean, and they even get into like the chemtrails. You know, they're spraying so much crap in the air that, you know, Lord only knows what we really can or can't see that's really going on. They're doing a really good job of it, I'll tell you that. The other day it was cloudy, super cloudy. And I just watched a few videos, and I try to go outside in the afternoon. I try to watch the sunset. I try to go outside in the morning because I'm usually up before the sunrise. And I try to watch 20 or 30 minutes of it. But sunset the other day, well, not sunset, sun was going down. It was late afternoon. Sun's in the sky. There's clouds in front of it. I'm counting like 13 chemtrails in the sky, 13, 14 chemtrails. They're just all over the place, crisscrossing. I'm just like, wow, they're going heavy today. And I'm watching the sun, and the sun is behind a very, very thin veil of clouds. And I couldn't, I guess I couldn't process what I was looking at because, I mean, I'm sitting here with my own eyes, and I'm seeing this. I'm seeing the sun. Of course, I've got glasses on, and I'm actually inside my cabin that has a tinted window. So I'm looking at this through double tint. You know, for anybody who's like, you're not looking at the sun. It's double tint, and it's behind a very thin veil of clouds. So the sun is actually white. It's not bright yellow. It's not. You can actually see the physical sun. Well, right next to it, there's a thin outline of another circle right next to it. It's not the same size as the sun. It was pretty close, but let's just say for scale size, if you could hold up a penny and cover up the sun, you could have held up a dime and just overlapped the edge, and it would have covered this other circle, you know? So I've never seen this before in my life, ever. And I enjoy looking at sunsets, and I take a lot of pictures offshore of sunsets and sunrises. They're very beautiful, and I share them all over the Facebook and send them to people in messages, and I've never, ever in my life seen this. And it really freaked me out, Rex. It really freaked me out because it put into perspective the size of this thing, and I'm wondering where exactly is this at, you know? I don't know if it's behind the sun. I don't know if it's in front of the sun, in between, because like I said, it was a very thin layer of cloud. And I know it wasn't a reflection, you know, like some people, oh, that was just a reflection in the clouds. No, no, that wasn't a reflection. You know, I saw it. With my naked eye, I saw it. And it was very humbling, to say the least. Knowing kind of what I believe to be the truth, which is what I'm telling you right here. You know, they've got a seed bank in Norway. I'm sure you know about that.
Oh yeah.
All the nations of the world have deposited their seeds of their crops. I mean, everything, and it's in the middle of a bunker in a mountain in Norway. You know, the North Pole is racing towards England at like. Oh man, what it used to be? The pole used to move like a mile a year. Various, just you know, this and that. Now the poles are moving. I think they said like a mile a day, down towards England, Denmark, that area. I mean, you've got. Let's see here. I'm flipping through all these pages. I got like 8 pages of stuff I'm looking at.
You know, I was watching some video from Dill Martin's channel the other day, and there was, I think this was in Antarctica where this was being filmed, and as the sun came up and then it went down, as it went down on the other side of the camera, you could see another sun come up and then go across the horizon and then go down, just like the other one. It was incredible.
Well, and I guess
it's just swamp gas, though.
That's all it is. It's a weather balloon it's a stray balloon. That's all it is. As a matter of fact, you know what it is? It's the Red Bull parachute the Red Bull balloon up there. They're parachuting from the stratosphere.
Yes.
Again. But I mean,
it's not for everybody, folks. What's that?
I believe I actually saw that video of yours that you're speaking of yesterday or this morning. I think I watched about another 20 hours in the past 2 days, but I mean, it's got me enthralled. I can't break away from it. It's almost like a slight addiction to try to put this thing together. And I guess this is where I'm kind of going with the whole story. You know, I kept seeing these different stories over here saying, hey, so the Illuminati, why do they want world control? You know, and they're just like, because they're evil and they're Satanists and this is their plan the whole time. And it's just like, you know, I'm not gonna deny that I've seen a couple of videos with some pretty crazy stuff, but trying to find actual real knowledge about the Illuminati without somebody just giving their 2 cents on who the Illuminati programmed to kill and this and that, it is so hard for me personally. Because I just don't know where to go, I guess.
Let me add something to that real quick, Jeff, because you brought up the Illuminati, and someone asked earlier in one of the comments today. I do my best to respond to as many comments as possible unless they just don't require responding to, or if I just can't get to it, because, you know, I mean, I do get thousands of comments literally weekly, and, you know, very little staff here. It's me and one other person, and so we're doing the best that we can. But regardless, where I'm going with this is, man, I don't even know where I am going with this. We'll continue.
Illuminati?
Yeah, the Illuminati, thank you. So the Illuminati are, you know, people say, oh, the Illuminati, it's the Illuminati. The symbol that I have, it's an eye inside of a hand, and the reason I chose that is because the hand represents protection and the eye represents seeing through the veil of deceit. And I get people leaving comments like, oh man, you sold your soul to the devil, you have an eye on your logo. And I respond, and they'll say, you're a part of the Illuminati, do you know that that's the Illuminati symbol? And first of all, the Illuminati, there's many groups and organizations that call themselves the Illuminati. I mean, if you're referring to the people in the media that flash these, you know, certain hand gestures and signs, those have been around for thousands and thousands of years, long before the Bavarian Illuminati that was formed in Germany. So I think that there's definitely a very orchestrated design, and they use that term Illuminati oftentimes to just kind of as a scapegoat. I mean, there's definitely psychopaths that rule the world, but I wouldn't necessarily call them the Illuminati, because even the Illuminati reference is somebody that's illuminated, and if you look at old Latin terminology, illuminated is a good thing. It means you're in the know. So I think it's kind of silly when people don't have enough knowledge and they'll say, oh, well, that guy has a pyramid on his t-shirt. He must have signed a contract in blood or at midnight with the full moon out. You know, I mean, but hey, people just aren't educated, and they're doing their best to connect the dots, and many times I think that they have the best gestures in mind, and they're looking to do the right thing. They just don't have enough information.
Exactly. And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that I bypass that situation. I'm hoping that I'm not making myself look stupid by coming out and telling you this. I mean, because I like to think that I'm a smart guy. I mean, of course, I guess everybody likes to think that they're a smart guy, but, you know, to me, there's just too many things that are falling into place that are just so out of the ordinary, that makes so much sense, that it has to be a design. You know, it can't just be, in my mind, it can't just be just coincidence that, oh, we're just going to buy 1.5 billion rounds of ammunition, and just because, you know. And then all of a sudden, there's rail cars outfitted with shackles and a map of the United States that's been declared human-free zones, you know. And then there's another map that says, hey, after this big thing hits, you probably don't want to be in these areas right here, you know. And it's, like I said, all of them were just asking this, why? Well, why? Why? And even with the September 23rd date from last year, everybody was freaking out last year. I was freaking out last year. I was like, man, what's going to happen? You know, I mean, I was up all night looking at the stars and the moon. I was like, all right, here we go, you know. And I totally fell into it. But once I figured out the Planet X, Nibiru, Wormwood, the Red Dragon side of it, this was actually, they had actually thought this thing was going to begin to come through around that time frame. You know, they had that prime minister from whatever, French prime minister or something, or whoever he was, that we have 500 days until total climate chaos. Well, they had predicted that, oh, well, this is going to come through at this time. And this is when all of this, the earthquakes and the meteors and the volcanic eruptions and the tidal waves, I mean, they've actually got one of the guys, you know, like I said, I've watched so many videos, my mind is just an egg scramble right now because it's trying to remember who's who. But one of the guys was like, they've actually figured out a time frame of how long it's going to take for the Earth to flip over, and it was like 28 minutes or something like that when it comes back around the second time, and it grabs our South Pole and flips it all the way up on its top.
Well, I got to jump
28
in.
Minutes.
You know, and if that's all that it's going to take, if it's only 28 minutes, then definitely be prepared, because we had Jason on here last night, and he had some information from the star charts. The software is called Stellarium, I think. And in reference to, if you read Revelations 12 or Revelation 12, where it talks about the woman, the child, and the dragon, and that's based upon it's based upon astrology. And if you look at these charts, he went to September 23rd, 2017, and that is, if you look at the definition, I mean, just read it, folks, you will see that that specific date in the stars, in this star chart, it correlates perfectly. It's by design, it's to a T, and even very fundamentalist Christians that have watched this podcast on our channel here, youtube.com/clandestine time lord, have said, yeah, that's great information. So, and if you read into the Revelation 12, it does talk about the catastrophes, and such as makes it sound like a pole shift, giant, you know, floods, earthquakes, earth changes, a third of the stars are going to fall down, it's going to become dark, and that could possibly be. Yeah. Well, but here's what he states it is. It's Jupiter. It's not Planet X. It's Jupiter that actually travels at a certain distance close enough to the Earth, and because of the gravitational pull, it's actually caused the Earth to shift, to pole shift. So that event, in his opinion, isn't Wormwood, it's Jupiter. But then we went later to some coordinates on Google Sky that are blacked out because the original photo of Planet X was there if you overlaid it perfectly.
Yep, I was going to mention that earlier. I saw that, and I was going to revisit that. And you know, I hate to keep bringing up old stuff for you here. You know, I mean, I know you've heard it, you know, before, but that was another thing that I was going to talk about. Was another one of the prophecies in the Bible says that it says God says He's going to make the sun go down over Jerusalem at noon. So, I mean, the only thing that's going to do that is flip the earth. So, I mean, literally. Hey, are you going to stop the earth's rotation and spin it backwards? Or are you going to, are you going to stop the direction of travel and go back the opposite way? I mean, that's not going to happen. The only plausible thing is a pole shift. And I actually looked it up and did the math just in case you're wondering, but it's actually 5 a.m. Central Time for it being noon in Israel over Jerusalem. So there's a 7-hour, while they're noontime, we're 7 hours behind them at 5 a.m. Just that's Central Time, just so you know, which is where I reside. But I did do that research on my own. I'm proud of that. You know, but that's pretty much the going gist of this. You know, I mean, I've got I've got other things that you know that I could talk about. This series, but you know, it has nothing to do with. Well, I mean, it has to do with Planet X, but it has nothing to do with modern times of Planet X. And it has nothing to do with what we're dealing with right now.
Well, you know, I think it'd be great to have you back on the show, Jeff. I mean, it sounds to me like you've got a whole bunch of information. I think that this would make a good part one, and then we could jump back on some of the theories and such afterwards, because the information you brought to the table tonight, that's a lot to digest for people, and you've connected so many dots that I think it gives them enough to chew on until, you know, the next opportunity we have a chance to speak, and we'll certainly stay in touch. I really appreciate you reaching out to us, man. That's a pretty thought-provoking concept.
Well, you know, I hope that that from our previous correspondence in email with your coworker there, that it's actually kind of lived up to what I was bringing, and I, you know, and I'm not trying to sound, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, I heard somebody say one time, oh, people say they're not trying to be a fearmonger, but when they say they're not trying to be, you know, well, I'm not, you know, I'm just saying, be prepared, you know, and whether it's spiritually, physically, you know, having to do with your supplies, a place to go, a group of people to be around, to support each other, because that's going to be important. If this really does happen, you're going to need a small community of people, you know, whether it's 10 people or whether it's 50, you know, but you're going to need people to rely on, you know, so just I'm just saying, just be prepared, that's all, you know, so like I said, I hope I, for right now, have satisfied the needed conversation.
Oh, this is great, Jeff. No, this is fantastic, man. I really appreciate it, and it was nice to get to know a little bit about, you know, your background in the military and stuff too. I find that fascinating, and you know, I really do appreciate your service.
I actually, man, I you know, my uncle was he was really high up in the military. He did Air Force. I want to say it was Air Force Military Police, and then he ended up going into did a cross transfer or whatever to a different job, and he ended up being military intelligence. And then he left the police and the intelligence, and he ended up going and working for that 3-letter agency that nobody's supposed to talk about, you know, and did security.
There's no such agency.
Yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. There's just stars on the wall that we remember people by. And left that and then ended up doing private government contracting. And I don't have no clue where he went or what he did with that, but I can imagine it was some pretty high up stuff. You know, my other uncle was a paramedic all his life, you know, retired paramedic, went over to Iraq and actually fought fires when they were lighting the oil fields on fire, and he did that a couple times, and you know, so it's kind of in my, you know, my family, kind of like as yours, as you were saying, and so I actually joined when I was 17, and if I would have stayed in, I would have retired this year, but you know, like I said, it got way too political for me. So I just had to exit. But I don't regret it by any means. And anybody that says thank you, I thoroughly say, hey, no worries, no problems. Thank you back. I mean, it's and you're welcome. I mean, it was an experience. So absolutely. All right, man. Well, Rex, whenever you guys want to, hook back up and talk again, just you guys have my email and my Skype, so maybe I can bring some other info to the table. We'll see. But I appreciate it.
Sure.
I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much. How long are you on that boat? Time? Just a couple hours, or?
No, it's 28 days, and then I have 14 days.
Wow, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're on here for a month, and then we get 2 weeks off, and then we come back for another month. And but living with 4 guys in close quarters, it's kind of it's a
oh, I couldn't handle that.
I joined the military.
Yeah.
To learn to live with people,
Sure. Yeah, that's awesome, though. You should get you a camera one of these nights, or like an infrared. If you're out on the water that long, do some night vision stuff. I'll bet you could get some stellar footage out there, UFOs and stuff. Who knows what's out there?
I've seen enough crap out here to fill your show for about 10 hours, man.
For sure. I gotta hear. I'd love to hear some of that. Have you seen stuff like come out of the water, like take off?
Yes. Well, not come out of the water and take off, but I have seen stuff literally rise about, I'd have to say, 6 feet out of the water without actually breaking the water. So like the water bubbled over it, really weird. Like, it was insane, and then just shot right back down, and it literally like just a kaboosh. I was like, what in the God's name was that? It's like, I looked at my captain, and we were on the back deck examining.
No.
But yeah, we were out there on the back deck. We had all the lights lit up. I mean, there's 1,000-watt halogen lights just all over the back deck, and it's lighting it up like daylight. And when it came up, I mean, it freaked me out,
Where was it at?
Oh, just Gulf of Mexico. I don't know if you're able to look up marine charts or whatever, but it was in the West Delta field. About 300 feet of water, 400 feet of water. And it was just, like I said, just rose up. I mean, the thing was massive. I mean, if it wasn't 20 or 30 feet across, and like I said, just at least 6 foot out of the water, and the water never even broke over the top of it. Like, it never even broke the plane of the water. It was pushing, and then it just went straight back down. And it was wild, man. Super wild. But
was it like metallic? Was it carbon fiber?
It was white. It was white. Let's put it that way.
Like fiberglass white?
Yeah, it was almost like it was painted white.
Okay.
But, I mean, the water's clear enough. I have pictures and I have video on my phone of the Gulf of Mexico out there. Usually around the summertime, it starts to clear up, and the water is just this. You can see 40 and 50 feet down, and in the daytime.
Really?
So when it, oh yeah,
I didn't
when
know
it
it was that
comes
clean
up,
out there.
Oh, it gets pretty nice. The environment's a crazy thing, man. And that's what kills me about global warming. Oh, we're tearing up the Earth, man. The Earth is going to fix itself, and it does it wonderfully. And the water's super clear, and
that's really cool, man.
Oh yeah, it jumped up out of there. I've got a couple stories for you.
Well, do you think it was military, one of our own, like a submarine type deal?
No. Submarine is not going to make that type of bubble, just coming straight up, unless it was the front end, like straight, and then having
like a drone.
It was, I mean, like I said, it was massive. At least 20 or 30 feet across. Just
Ooh.
a big bubble around. It was almost like a sphere coming out of the water, and the top half of the sphere came out and then just went right back underwater. It was weird. So weird.
How long did it last?
3 or 4 seconds. That was it. I mean, it was there and it was gone.
And did it have any lights or any markings or anything?
No lights. Couldn't see any lights. Couldn't see any markings or anything. It was just a big white bubble. It just came straight up and then went right back down. Before you go, you had a video the other day had a picture of a triangular shaped flying object.
You know, we found out that came from the X-Files TV show. We actually even made a comment. I don't remember if you remember listening to that show, but I said this looks just like the spaceship that hovers over Mulder in the X-Files and blows up the car, and that's actually where that came from, is the X-Files.
Oh, okay.
So you saw something that looked like that?
Oh, man, come on. I thought you guys had a picture of it. I'm going to tell you where I'm from. And give you a little bit of quick history on my family. My granddad was the original bass guitarist for Hank Sr., the country player, the country singer. And we're from that Montgomery area. My father studied. So we lived, of course, in that area, Maxwell Air Force Base, all that fun stuff. My grandmother actually lived right across the street from Maxwell Air Force Base. At the end of the runway, she had cracks in her ceilings from where the C-130s would take off and be so low that they would actually shake the foundation of her house and was actually splitting the ceiling. Old house. But growing up as a child, we lived way back in the woods, man. And I'm talking Hank Williams Jr., country boy can survive type back in the woods. Way back. If anybody came into our yard, they were either friends coming to visit, or they were lost. There was no random passerby. We were in the back of a pig trail, 3/4 of a mile back into the woods. It was just a 2-acre clearing. Way back there, we bought the house from these two hippies. They built it in like the 70s, and that's just where they had been. And that's where we lived as a kid. Well, we've got our friends over. I've got my best friend. My sister has her best friend. My brother has 2 of his best friends. And we're just out camping out on the trampoline out there in the front yard. The house sits in the very, very back. We have a 2-acre square. The house sits in the very, very back of the property. And it's nothing but a cleared out 2-acre spread. There's a couple of trees here, a little grove of trees there, but it's not like the woods. And I don't know, I'm 12, 13, 14 years old. I'm somewhere around between the 6th and 7th, 8th grade, something like that. But we're all, like I said, we're outside. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight, something like that. We're all still up. We're just giggling, being kids. And I noticed these 2 moons off in the distance. And I'm like, well, that's weird. It looks like the moon. Is it being blocked by the trees or something? I mean, it's a pretty big moon. I was like, but it's really weird because it's 2 separate circles, and I'm just like, huh. So I looked at it for a little bit and went back to what I was doing. Looked back a minute later, and they're farther apart. I was like, what the heck is that? I mean, it's weird. What's going on? And I'm studying it, and I'm looking at it, and I noticed that they're not moving apart. It's just moving closer. And they're just like 2 round Volkswagen Bug headlights. I mean, they're massive circles of light. I mean, it had to, I'm talking like spotlights. And it's coming closer, and it's super low, and it's going so slow, Rex. It was moving so slow. And all of us we're freaking out. I'm like, what the heck? And as it's coming towards us, I realized that it's like a plane or something. So I run inside, and I try to grab one of those disposable cameras that you got to hold the button for like a minute and a half just to get the flash to work, and you got to wind it up. And I run inside, and I grab a camera, and I come back out. And as I'm coming back out, darting out the front door, it's directly over the house, over the trees right there in our front yard. And literally, our trampoline was just right out the front door, and it's so low that the tops of the trees are just waving back and forth, right? Like they're in a hurricane. They're just going everywhere. They're going nuts. You cannot hear this thing. It's the only noise this is making is like a low volume, high pitched whistle, like a you know, and it's super quiet. It's so low that you can see the rivets and the bolts holding the panels of metal or whatever it was on the actual craft. That's how low it is. I can actually see the physical panel. And couldn't make out any markings. Couldn't make out any distinguishing characteristics other than it was like, it almost looked like a, those what is it, the B-2 stealth bombers, a triangle, but it didn't have the wings that fly back. It was actually like a perfect triangle. And it just, and I'm over here trying to snap pictures, and I'm holding the flash down, and it finally gets one, and I click off a picture, and we're actually following this thing through the yard. We're at a slow jog or a fast walk, and we're following this thing across 2 acres, and I'm trying to snap pictures. Just how slow it's going. I'm directly under this thing. And it lifts up a little bit, and it goes out because next to our property was the big power line, the big towers, that's got the power lines. It lifted up, and a couple